Marcus Wellington sat in his big office on the top floor of a tall building. Outside his window, the city looked small below him. He was one of the richest men in the world. His company made computer programs that millions of people used every day. But right now he felt tired and worried. His phone buzzed. Another meeting. Another deal. Another $1 million. 2 years ago, this would have made him happy. But 2 years ago, his wife Sarah was still alive. Marcus looked at the picture on his desk. Sarah was holding their daughter Emma at the beach. Emma was only 6 then, with wild curly hair and a big smile. Now Emma was 8 and she hardly smiled anymore. Mr. Wellington, his secretary knocked on the door. Your daughter's school called. Emma got sick during lunch. They want you to pick her up. Marcus looked at his watch. He had an important meeting in an hour. The kind of meeting that could make or lose millions of dollars. Before Sarah died, he would have sent the driver to get Emma. But Emma needed him now. She only had him. Cancel my meeting, Marcus said. I'm going to get my daughter. The drive to Emma's school took 30 minutes through busy traffic. Westfield Academy was the most expensive private school in the city. The building looked like a small castle, with perfect green grass and fancy cars in the parking lot. Marcus walked into the nurse's office. Emma sat on a small bed, looking very pale. When she saw him, she ran into his arms. Daddy, I don't feel good, Emma whispered. The nurse, Mrs. Chen, pulled Marcus aside. She says her stomach hurts, but I think she's upset about something. This is the 3rd time this month. Marcus looked at his daughter. Emma was small for her age, with her mother's green eyes and quiet way of speaking. She loved to read books and draw pictures of animals. At home, she seemed normal. But at school, something was wrong. What happened today, sweetheart? Marcus asked as they walked to his car. Emma looked down at her shoes. Nothing, Daddy, just stomach ache. Marcus knew she was not telling the truth. But Emma never wanted to talk about school. She just said everything was fine and went to her room to read. During the drive home, Marcus watched Emma in the mirror. She stared out the window with sad eyes. This was not the happy little girl he used to know. Before Sarah died, Emma would tell them everything about her day. Now she was quiet and kept to herself. At home, Emma went straight to her room. Marcus stood in the hallway, not knowing what to do. Their house was huge, with 15 rooms and a pool. But it felt empty without Sarah's laugh filling the rooms. Marcus tried to work from his home office, but he could not focus. Through the wall, he could hear Emma talking quietly to herself. She did this often now, having long conversations with no one there. The doctor said it was normal for children who lost a parent. But it still worried him. At dinner, Emma played with her food instead of eating. How was school today? Marcus asked. Good, Emma said, not looking up. What did you learn? Stuff. Did you play with your friends? Emma was quiet for a long time. Then she said, I don't have friends, Daddy. Marcus felt his heart break a little. What do you mean? What about Jessica from your class? Or Michael? Emma shook her head. They don't like me. Nobody likes me. That's not true, Emma. You're a wonderful little girl. You're smart and kind and— No, I'm not, Emma said, tears starting to fall. I'm weird and boring and my clothes are stupid and I don't know how to be cool like the other kids. Before Marcus could say anything, Emma ran upstairs to her room. He heard her door slam shut. Marcus sat alone at the big dining table. He had given Emma everything money could buy. The best school, the nicest clothes, all the toys she wanted. But he could not buy her friends. He could not buy her happiness. The next morning, Marcus decided to drive Emma to school himself. Usually, his driver James took her in the company car. But Marcus wanted to see Emma's school world for himself. As they pulled up to Westfield Academy, Marcus watched the other children getting out of expensive cars. They all looked perfect, with name-brand clothes and new backpacks. Their parents barely looked up from their phones as they said goodbye. Emma got out of the car slowly. Bye, Daddy, she said quietly. Have a good day, sweetheart. I love you. Emma walked toward the school building. Marcus was about to drive away when he saw something that made his blood boil. 3 older children, probably 10 or 11 years old, surrounded Emma near the school entrance. Marcus could not hear what they were saying, but he could see Emma's shoulders shake. One of the boys grabbed Emma's backpack and dumped all her books on the ground. The other children laughed as Emma tried to pick up her things. Marcus opened his car door, ready to march over there and give those kids a piece of his mind. But then a teacher appeared and the bullies walked away. acting like nothing happened. Emma picked up her books and went into the school, her head down. Marcus sat in his car, shaking with anger. His little girl was being bullied, and he had not even known. How long had this been going on? Was this why she got sick so often? Why she said she had no friends? That day, Marcus could not think about anything else. In every meeting, he pictured Emma surrounded by mean kids. He remembered her saying, "Nobody likes me," and understood why. When Emma came home from school, Marcus tried to talk to her about what he saw. But Emma just said the kids were playing around and went to her room. Marcus realized he did not really know his daughter's life. He knew her favorite books and what she liked to eat for breakfast. But he did not know what her days were really like. He did not know who hurt her or made her sad. For 2 years, Marcus had been so busy with work and dealing with his own sadness about Sarah that he missed what was happening to Emma. He gave her money and things, but not what she really needed, a father who paid attention. That night, Marcus made a decision. He was going to find out what was really going on in Emma's life, and he was going to fix it no matter what it took. The next morning, Marcus woke up with a plan. He was going to follow Emma to school and watch what really happened to her. But first, he needed to make sure she would not see him. Marcus called his driver, James. "I'm sick today," Marcus lied. "Can you take Emma to school like usual?" But when James arrived, he looked worried. "Mr. Wellington, I'm sorry, but my car broke down on the way here. The engine is making terrible noises. I had to call a taxi to get here." Marcus looked out the window. There was no company car in the driveway. "What should we do?" James asked. "I can call another driver, but it might take an hour." Emma was eating breakfast in the kitchen. She needed to be at school in 30 minutes. Marcus thought about his plan to secretly follow her. This was not how he wanted it to work. "Don't worry about it," Marcus said. "I'll figure something out." After James left, Marcus sat with Emma at breakfast. She picked at her eggs and did not talk much. "Emma," Marcus said carefully, "James's car is broken. How would you feel about taking the school bus today?" Emma's eyes got wide. "The bus? But Daddy, I've never taken the bus before." "I know, sweetheart. But it might be fun. You could meet some new kids." Emma looked scared. "What if the kids on the bus don't like me either?" Marcus felt his heart hurt. Emma was so worried about other kids not liking her. "If you don't want to take the bus, I can drive you myself." "No, it's okay," Emma said quietly. "I'll try the bus." Marcus walked Emma to the bus stop at the end of their street. There were about 10 other children waiting. Most of them were from the neighborhood, not from Emma's expensive school. Emma stood close to Marcus, holding his hand tight. When the big yellow bus came around the corner, Emma looked up at Marcus. "Will you be here when I come home?" "Of course, sweetheart. Have a good day." Emma climbed onto the bus and found a seat near the front. Through the window, Marcus could see her small face looking back at him as the bus drove away. Marcus quickly got in his car and followed the bus. He stayed far back so no one would notice him. The bus stopped at several more places to pick up children. At each stop, more kids got on. Marcus could see Emma through the bus windows. She sat alone, looking out at the street. Other children were talking and laughing, but nobody sat with Emma. After about 20 minutes, the bus arrived at Westfield Academy. Marcus parked his car across the street behind some trees where he could watch but not be seen. The bus stopped and children started getting off. Emma was one of the last ones to stand up. As she walked down the aisle toward the front of the bus, Marcus saw 3 older boys get up from the back seats. Marcus recognized them. They were the same boys who had bothered Emma yesterday at the school entrance. The biggest boy, who had red hair and was much taller than Emma, stepped in front of her in the bus aisle. "Look who's riding the poor kid bus now," the red-haired boy said loud enough for everyone to hear. Emma tried to walk around him, but the boy moved to block her way. "What's in your backpack, weird girl?" another boy said. "More boring books?" The third boy grabbed Emma's backpack and tried to pull it away from her. Emma held on tight, but she was much smaller than the boys. "Please give it back," Emma said in a small voice. "Please give it back," the red-haired boy said, copying Emma's voice in a mean way. "What are you going to do if we don't?" Marcus was getting out of his car to help Emma when something amazing happened. The bus driver stood up and turned around to face the children. "That's enough," the driver said in a calm but strong voice. "Everyone sit back down right now." The driver was a man about Marcus's age with dark skin and kind eyes. He was not very tall, but something about his voice made all the children listen. "Brandon," the driver said to the red-haired boy, "give the young lady her bag back and apologize." "But Mr. Martinez." "We were just playing," Brandon said. "No, you were not playing. You were being mean to someone smaller than you. That's called bullying, and it stops right now." Mr. Martinez walked to the back of the bus. Marcus noticed that the man walked with a small limp, like his leg was hurt. "Emma," Mr. Martinez said gently, "are you okay?" Emma nodded, but Marcus could see she was trying not to cry. "Boys," Mr. Martinez said to the three bullies, "I want you to think about something. How would you feel if 3 kids bigger than you grabbed your things and called you names?" The boys looked down at their shoes. "Brandon, your little sister rides this bus too. Would you want someone to treat her the way you just treated Emma?" Brandon shook his head. "Then why is it okay to treat Emma that way?" Brandon looked at Emma. "Sorry," he said quietly. "I can't hear you," Mr. Martinez said. "I'm sorry, Emma," Brandon said louder. The other 2 boys also said sorry. "Good," Mr. Martinez said. "Now everyone off the bus. And remember, this bus is a safe place for all children. Anyone who makes it unsafe will find another way to get to school." As the children got off the bus, Mr. Martinez stopped Emma. "Emma, walk with me for a minute," he said. They got off the bus together and walked a few steps away from the other children. Marcus moved closer so he could hear what the bus driver was saying to his daughter. "Are those boys bothering you at school too?" Mr. Martinez asked. Emma nodded. "How long has this been going on?" Emma was quiet for a moment. "Since my mom died," she said softly. Mr. Martinez knelt down so he was the same height as Emma. "I'm sorry about your mom. That must be very hard." Emma started to cry a little. "The kids say I'm weird because I'm always sad. They say I dress funny and I read too much." "Emma, look at me," Mr. Martinez said. "There is nothing wrong with being sad when someone you love dies. There is nothing wrong with reading books, and there is nothing wrong with you." Mr. Martinez reached into his pocket and pulled out a small book. "This is my favorite book when I was your age. It's about a girl who felt different from everyone else, but she found out that being different was actually her strength." He handed the book to Emma. "You can borrow this. Maybe it will help." Emma took the book and looked at the cover. "Thank you, Mr. Martinez. And Emma, if those boys bother you again on the bus or at school, you tell me right away." "Okay?" "Okay." Marcus watched his daughter walk into the school building, but she was walking differently now. Her shoulders were not so slumped. Her head was up a little higher. Marcus looked at the bus driver, Mr. Martinez. The man was checking something on the outside of the bus, getting ready to drive away. Marcus had seen something incredible. In just a few minutes, this bus driver had done more to help Emma than Marcus had done in months. Mr. Martinez had stood up to the bullies, made them apologize, and then taken time to comfort Emma. Who was this man? How did he know exactly what to say to make Emma feel better? As the bus drove away, Marcus sat in his car thinking. He had planned to march into that school and demand that the principal stop the bullying. He had planned to use his money and power to fix Emma's problems. But maybe what Emma needed was not money or power. Maybe she needed someone who understood what it was like to feel different. Someone who knew how to stand up to bullies without being a bully himself. Marcus started his car and followed the bus. He wanted to know more about Mr. Martinez. He wanted to understand how a bus driver had helped his daughter in ways that Marcus, with all his money, had not been able to. For the first time in 2 years, Marcus felt like there might be hope for Emma, and it had come from the most unexpected place. A school bus driver who cared enough to get involved. Marcus decided he was going to find out everything he could about this Mr. Martinez. Something told him this man was going to be very important in Emma's life, and maybe in his life too. That night, Marcus could not stop thinking about the bus driver. After Emma went to bed, he sat in his office with his computer and started searching for information about the man who had helped his daughter. It did not take long to find what he was looking for. The school district website had a list of all the bus drivers. There he was, Robert Martinez, called Bobby by the children. He had been driving buses for 3 years, but Marcus wanted to know more. He used his connections and resources to find out everything he could about Bobby Martinez. What Marcus learned made him respect the man even more. Bobby was 35 years old and had grown up in the poorest part of the city. His father left when Bobby was 7. and his mother worked 3 jobs to keep food on the table. Bobby was a good student, but when he turned 18, he joined the army instead of going to college. His family needed money, and the army would pay him and help his mother. Bobby served in the army for 12 years. He was a good soldier and helped many people in dangerous places around the world. But during his last mission, a bomb exploded near his truck. Bobby was hurt badly and lost his left leg below the knee. The army doctors fitted Bobby with an artificial leg. It took him 2 years to learn how to walk normally again. That explained the small limp Marcus had noticed. When Bobby came home from the army, he had medals for being brave and helping other soldiers. But he also had nightmares and trouble sleeping. The war had been hard on him. Bobby could have felt sorry for himself. He could have been angry about losing his leg. Instead, he decided to help other people. Bobby's mother was sick with diabetes and needed expensive medicine. His younger sister Maria was smart and wanted to go to college, but they did not have money for school. So Bobby found 2 jobs. During the day, Bobby drove the school bus. In the evenings, he worked at a grocery store. On weekends, he helped fix cars at his neighbor's garage. Bobby worked 7 days a week every week to take care of his family. Marcus learned that Bobby had never been married and had no children of his own. But the kids on his bus loved him. In 3 years, there had never been a single complaint about Bobby. No fights on his bus, no children getting hurt, no problems at all. The more Marcus learned about Bobby Martinez, the more amazed he became. Here was a man who had every reason to be bitter and angry. He had grown up poor, lost his father, fought in a war, lost his leg, and was now working multiple jobs just to survive. But instead of being angry, Bobby spent his days taking care of other people's children and making them feel safe. The next morning, Marcus made sure Emma took the bus again. This time, Marcus arrived at the bus stop early and parked where he could see everything clearly. When the bus arrived, Emma got on with more confidence than the day before. She was holding the book that Bobby had given her. Marcus followed the bus again. At each stop, he watched how Bobby treated the children. Bobby knew every child's name. He asked about their families, their pets, their homework. When a little boy got on the bus crying because he forgot his lunch, Bobby gave him an apple from his own lunch bag. When the bus reached Emma's school, Marcus watched the same 3 boys from yesterday. But this time, something was different. As Emma walked down the aisle, Brandon, the red-haired boy, actually said, "Good morning, Emma." Emma looked surprised. "Good morning," she said back. When Emma got off the bus, Bobby called out, "Have a good day, Emma. Don't forget what we talked about." "What did you talk about?" Marcus wondered. After the bus left, Marcus drove to a coffee shop near Emma's school to think about what he had seen. He wanted to meet Bobby and talk to him, but he was not sure how to do it without seeming strange. Marcus was drinking his coffee when he saw a familiar face walk into the coffee shop. It was Bobby Martinez. He was wearing regular clothes instead of his bus driver uniform, and he was walking with his small limp toward the counter. Marcus's heart started beating fast. This was his chance to meet the man who was helping his daughter. Bobby ordered a simple black coffee and a plain bagel. Marcus noticed that Bobby counted his money carefully before paying, like every dollar mattered. Marcus waited until Bobby sat down at a table near the window. Then Marcus walked over. "Excuse me," Marcus said. "Are you Mr. Martinez, the bus driver?" Bobby looked up a little surprised. "Yes, I am." "Do I know you?" "My name is Marcus Wellington. My daughter Emma rides your bus." Bobby's face lit up with a smile. "Emma, she's a wonderful little girl. Very smart and kind. You should be proud of her." "May I sit down?" Marcus asked. Of course, Marcus sat across from Bobby. Up close, he could see that Bobby had kind brown eyes and a gentle smile. There were small scars on his hands, probably from his time in the army. "I wanted to thank you," Marcus said. "Yesterday you helped Emma when some older boys were bothering her on the bus." She came home different, happier, more confident. Bobby looked concerned. Those boys were giving her trouble. I made sure they apologized. "But Mr. Wellington, I think Emma has been having problems for a while. She seems very sad for such a young child." Marcus felt his throat get tight. "Emma's mother died 2 years ago. It's been hard for both of us." "I'm sorry for your loss," Bobby said quietly. "That explains a lot. Emma told me a little bit about her mother yesterday." "She talked to you about her mother?" Marcus was surprised. Emma hardly ever talked about Sarah even with him. Just a little. She said the other kids think she's weird because she's always sad. I told her that missing someone you love is not weird, it's normal. Marcus stared at Bobby. In one conversation, this man had helped Emma understand something that Marcus had been trying to explain for 2 years. How did you know what to say? Marcus asked. Bobby was quiet for a moment. I've been sad too. When I came back from the army, I was angry and sad and lost. I had to learn that it's okay to feel bad sometimes, and I had to learn that talking about it helps. The army, Marcus said. I heard you served overseas. 12 years, Bobby said. It was hard, but I'm proud of what I did. I helped people, and you're still helping people. The children on your bus, they all seem to love you. Bobby smiled. Kids are honest. If you treat them with respect and kindness, they give it back. Emma is special, though. She's going through something really hard, but she's still gentle and caring. That takes strength. Marcus felt tears in his eyes. This man understood his daughter better than Marcus did. Can I ask you something? Marcus said. Why do you care so much? Most people just do their job and go home. But you go out of your way to help kids like Emma. Bobby thought for a long moment. Mr. Wellington, when I was Emma's age, my father left us. I was angry and confused, and I felt like something was wrong with me. I had teachers who could have helped, but they were too busy or just didn't care. So I grew up thinking I wasn't worth caring about. Bobby took a sip of his coffee. I don't want any child to feel that way. Every kid deserves to know that someone cares about them. Marcus looked out the window at the busy street. Here he was, one of the richest men in the world, and he was learning about caring for children from a bus driver who worked 2 jobs. Emma has been so lonely, Marcus said. I've tried everything, new toys, trips, different schools. Nothing helped. Money can't buy friends, Bobby said gently. But Emma doesn't need to buy friends. She just needs to learn how to be confident in who she is. She's a reader, right? She loves books? Yes, how did you know? She was holding a book when she got on the bus yesterday. And the way she talks, she's smart and thoughtful. Those are good things. The other kids make fun of her for reading. Then those kids are missing out. Emma has something special, curiosity and imagination. She just needs to find kids who appreciate that. Marcus looked at Bobby with new respect. This man saw good things in Emma that Marcus had forgotten to notice. Mr. Martinez, Bobby, I want you to know that what you did for Emma means more than you can imagine. I just treated her like any child deserves to be treated, Bobby said. As they talked, Marcus learned more about Bobby's life. Bobby told him about his mother's medical bills, his sister's college dreams, and his hopes to maybe go back to school himself someday. But Bobby never complained or asked for help. He talked about his challenges like they were just facts of life that he had to deal with. When it was time for Bobby to go to his second job at the grocery store, Marcus shook his hand. Thank you, Marcus said, for everything. Take care of that little girl, Bobby said. She's going to do great things someday. As Marcus watched Bobby walk away, limping slightly but with his shoulders straight and proud, Marcus realized something important. He had been trying to protect Emma from the world. But what Emma needed was someone to teach her how to be strong in the world. Someone like Bobby Martinez, who had faced hard things and came through them with kindness instead of bitterness. Marcus drove home with a new plan. He was going to find a way to make sure Bobby stayed in Emma's life, because Emma needed a teacher like Bobby, someone who could show her that being different was okay, that being sad was normal, and that there were still good people in the world who cared about others. For the first time since Sarah died, Marcus felt like he and Emma were going to be okay, and it was all because of a bus driver who understood that caring for children was the most important job in the world. Over the next few weeks, Marcus made sure Emma took the bus to school every day. He told her that James's car was still being fixed, but really, Marcus wanted Emma to keep riding with Bobby Martinez. Every morning, Marcus would follow the bus at a distance. He wanted to see if Bobby really was as good as he seemed, or if that first day was just lucky. What Marcus saw amazed him more each day. On Monday, a little girl named Sophie got on the bus crying. Her parents had gotten divorced over the weekend, and she was scared and confused. Bobby saw Sophie's tears right away. Sophie, come sit up here with me, Bobby said, patting the seat behind the driver's seat. Tell me what's wrong. Sophie sat down and told Bobby about her parents. Bobby listened carefully and then said, You know what, Sophie? Sometimes grown-ups have problems that kids don't understand, but that doesn't mean they love you any less. Bobby told Sophie about how his own father had left when he was young. It hurt a lot, Bobby said. But my mom loved me enough for two parents, and you have people who love you too. By the time they reached school, Sophie was smiling again. On Tuesday, two boys got into an argument about a baseball game. They were yelling and about to fight. Other bus drivers might have just told them to be quiet, but Bobby pulled the bus over safely and turned around. Michael and Tony, I can see you're both upset about this game, but fighting won't change who won. It will just get you both in trouble. Bobby had both boys explain their side of the argument. Then he helped them see that they were both right about different things. By the end of the ride, the boys were friends again. On Wednesday, it rained hard. A boy named Carlos got on the bus soaking wet because he had to walk 4 blocks to the bus stop. Bobby had an extra towel in his bag and gave it to Carlos. Then Bobby turned up the heat in the bus so Carlos could get warm. Next time it rains this hard, Carlos, you call the school and tell them you'll be a little late. Don't walk in dangerous weather just to catch the bus on time. But what impressed Marcus most was how Bobby handled Emma. Every day, Bobby would greet Emma by name and ask how she was feeling. He never pushed her to talk, but he always let her know he was there if she needed him. On Thursday, Emma got on the bus looking upset. Bobby noticed right away. "Rough morning, Emma?" Bobby asked gently. Emma nodded but didn't say anything. "That's okay. Sometimes we have tough days. But you know what I learned? Tough days help us appreciate the good days more." Throughout the bus ride, Bobby would look in his mirror and check on Emma. When they reached school, he called her up to the front. "Emma, I want you to remember something today. You are smart, you are kind, and you matter. If anyone tells you different, they're wrong." Emma smiled for the first time that morning. "Thank you, Mr. Bobby." Marcus was watching from his car and saw the whole thing. His daughter had been sad about something, and Bobby had made her feel better without even knowing what was wrong. That took real skill and caring. On Friday, something special happened. Brandon, the red-haired boy who used to bully Emma, got on the bus looking embarrassed. He walked slowly to where Emma was sitting. "Emma," Brandon said quietly, "can I ask you something?" Emma looked up from her book. "Okay. You always read on the bus? Are books really that interesting?" Marcus held his breath. This could go badly or really well. Emma's face lit up. "Oh yes, this book is about a girl who finds a secret door in her house that leads to a magical world." "Really? What happens to her?" Emma started telling Brandon about the story. Soon, 2 other children were listening too. Marcus watched his shy, quiet daughter talking excitedly about something she loved. The other kids were actually interested in what she had to say. When they reached school, Brandon said, "Emma, can you tell me more about that book tomorrow?" "Sure," Emma said, smiling big. As the children got off the bus, Bobby caught Emma's arm gently. "Emma, I saw what just happened with Brandon. You shared something you love, and look what happened. He wants to be your friend." "He used to be mean to me," Emma said. "People can change, Emma. Especially when someone shows them kindness. You did a brave thing today." Marcus sat in his car with tears in his eyes. In just 2 weeks, Bobby had helped Emma go from being bullied to making friends. And he did it without fancy programs or expensive therapy. He just showed Emma how to be confident in who she was. That weekend, Marcus decided to test Bobby in a different way. He wanted to see what kind of person Bobby was when he wasn't at work. Marcus found out that Bobby volunteered at a community center on Saturday mornings helping kids with their homework. Marcus drove to the community center and watched through the window. Bobby was sitting at a table with about 10 children, ages 6 to 12. Some of the kids were struggling with math, others needed help reading. Bobby worked with each child, patiently, never getting frustrated when they didn't understand something right away. One little boy kept making the same mistake in his math homework. Marcus expected Bobby to get annoyed. Instead, Bobby said, "You know what, Tommy? Let's try a different way to think about this problem." Bobby used coins from his pocket to show Tommy how addition worked. Soon Tommy understood and was doing the problems on his own. "I got it, Mr. Bobby, I got it," Tommy said excitedly. "I knew you would," Bobby said. "You just needed to see it in a way that made sense to you." Marcus also noticed that Bobby never talked down to the children. He spoke to them like they were smart people who could learn anything if it was explained the right way. After the tutoring session, Marcus followed Bobby to the grocery store where Bobby worked his second job. Marcus pretended to shop while watching Bobby work. Bobby stocked shelves and helped customers with the same patience he showed the children. When an elderly woman couldn't reach something on a high shelf, Bobby got it for her and carried her groceries to her car. When a customer was rude to him, Bobby stayed calm and polite. Marcus realized that Bobby treated everyone with respect, whether they were 8 years old or 80 years old, rich or poor. On Sunday, Marcus made a decision. He was going to test Bobby in the most important way possible. He was going to see if Bobby was just being nice to Emma because she came from a wealthy family, or if he really cared about all children equally. Marcus dressed in old clothes and drove an old car he kept in his garage for emergencies. He went to the bus stop in a poor neighborhood, where Bobby picked up some of his other passengers. A woman named Mrs. Rodriguez was waiting with her 6-year-old son Diego. Mrs. Rodriguez worked 2 jobs and looked very tired. Diego was wearing clothes that were clean but old. When the bus arrived, Bobby greeted Diego and his mother with the same warmth he showed Emma. "Good morning, Diego. Good morning, Mrs. Rodriguez. How are you feeling today?" Bobby asked Mrs. Rodriguez. Marcus had heard that she had been sick recently. "Much better, thank you for asking," Mrs. Rodriguez said. "I'm glad to hear that. Diego, did you finish that book I gave you?" Diego nodded excitedly and pulled a small book from his backpack. It was the same type of book Bobby had given Emma. "I loved it, Mr. Bobby. Do you have another one?" "I sure do," Bobby said, reaching into his own bag and pulling out another book. "This one is about a boy who goes on adventures." Marcus watched Bobby interact with Diego and the other children from the poor neighborhood. Bobby treated them exactly the same way he treated Emma and the wealthy children. He knew their names, asked about their families, and made sure they felt safe and cared for. This was not about money or status for Bobby. He simply believed that every child deserved to be treated with kindness and respect. On Monday morning, Marcus had made up his mind. He was going to find a way to keep Bobby Martinez in Emma's life permanently. But he had to be careful about how he did it. Marcus knew that Bobby was proud and would not accept charity. But maybe there was another way. Maybe Marcus could offer Bobby something that would help Bobby's family while also keeping him close to Emma. As Marcus followed the bus that morning, he started making plans. Bobby Martinez was the kind of person Marcus wanted his daughter to learn from. Bobby had shown Emma more about courage, kindness, and strength in 2 weeks than Marcus had been able to show her in 2 years. Emma was already changing. She was more confident, more willing to talk about her feelings, and actually excited about going to school. She had made friends with Brandon and 2 other children. She was still quiet and loved her books, but now she shared her love of reading with others instead of hiding it. Most importantly, Emma was starting to smile again. The real smile that Marcus remembered from before Sarah died. Bobby Martinez was changing Emma's life. Now Marcus was going to make sure that Bobby could keep doing that for as long as possible. Marcus had never met anyone like Bobby. Here was a man who had every excuse to be bitter or selfish, but instead chose to spend his life helping others. Bobby was teaching Emma and Marcus what it really meant to be strong and kind. Marcus knew that money could not buy what Bobby was giving Emma. But maybe Marcus could use his resources to give Bobby the security he needed to keep being the amazing person he was. The plan was forming in Marcus's mind, and he was excited to put it into action. 3 weeks later, Marcus noticed something different about the bus ride. Bobby seemed worried and distracted. He still treated the children kindly, but Marcus could see that something was bothering him. Emma noticed it too. When she came home from school, she looked upset. "Daddy, I think Mr. Bobby is sad about something," Emma said during dinner. "What makes you think that?" Marcus asked. "He's usually very happy and tells us jokes during the bus ride, but today he was quiet. And when little Carlos asked him a question, it took Mr. Bobby a while to answer, like his mind was somewhere else." Marcus felt worried. Bobby had become so important to Emma's happiness. If something was wrong with Bobby, it might affect Emma too. The next day, Marcus decided to find out what was happening. After the bus dropped off the children at school, Marcus followed Bobby to the coffee shop where they had met before. Bobby was sitting at the same table by the window, but he looked very different. His shoulders were slumped and he was staring into his coffee cup like it had all the problems of the world in it. Marcus walked over to Bobby's table. "Hello, Bobby, may I sit down?" Bobby looked up and tried to smile. "Oh, hi, Mr. Wellington, of course, please sit." But Marcus could see that Bobby's smile was forced. There were dark circles under Bobby's eyes like he had not been sleeping well. "Bobby, is everything all right? Emma mentioned that you seemed upset yesterday." Bobby was quiet for a long moment. Then he sighed deeply. "Mr. Wellington, I don't want to bother you with my problems. They're not your concern." "Actually, they are my concern," Marcus said. "You've helped Emma more than you know. If something is bothering you, I'd like to help if I can." Bobby looked at Marcus for a while like he was trying to decide whether to trust him. Finally, he spoke. "My mother is very sick," Bobby said quietly. "Her diabetes is getting worse, and the doctors say she needs a special treatment that costs a lot of money. The insurance company says it's not necessary, but without it—" Bobby's voice trailed off. Marcus could see tears in the man's eyes. "The treatment costs $15,000, Bobby continued. "I've been working extra hours at the grocery store, and I picked up a third job cleaning offices at night. But even with all that, I can't save enough money fast enough." Marcus felt his heart sink. $15,000 was nothing to Marcus. He spent more than that on lunch meetings in a month. But for Bobby, it was an impossible amount. "There's more," Bobby said, his voice getting smaller. "My sister Maria got accepted to college. She got a scholarship, but it only covers half her costs. She needs $5,000 for the first year." Bobby put his head in his hands. "I promised her she could go to college. She's so smart, Mr. Wellington. She could be a doctor or a lawyer or anything she wants. But if I use all my savings for my mother's treatment, there won't be anything left for Maria." Marcus wanted to reach into his wallet right then and give Bobby the money, but he knew Bobby was too proud to accept charity, especially from someone he barely knew. "And there's something else," Bobby said, looking even more upset. "The landlord raised our rent. We have to pay $300 more each month, starting next month. With my mother's medical bills and Maria's college costs, I can't afford it." "What will you do?" Marcus asked. "I have to move my family back to my hometown in Arizona. My uncle has a farm there, and he said we could live with him while my mother gets better. It would be cheaper and my uncle could help take care of her." Marcus felt like someone had punched him in the stomach. "When would you move?" "At the end of this month. I already told the school district that I have to quit my job as a bus driver." Marcus thought about Emma. She had just started to trust Bobby, just started to feel confident and happy. How would she handle losing the person who had helped her so much? "Bobby, have you thought about other options? Maybe there's another way to solve these problems without moving." Bobby shook his head. "Mr. Wellington, I've thought about everything. I've applied for loans, but I don't qualify because I don't make enough money. I've asked family and friends, but they're all struggling too. I've looked for better paying jobs, but I don't have a college degree." Bobby looked out the window at the busy street. "You know what the hardest part is? I love driving that school bus. Those kids, they've become like my own children. Emma, Diego, Carlos, Sophie, Brandon, all of them. I hate the idea of leaving them." Marcus could see that Bobby was really suffering. This was not just about money. Bobby was going to lose his job, his home, and the children he cared about. It would break his heart. "The kids don't know yet," Bobby said. "I don't know how to tell them. Especially Emma, she's been through so much already." That night, Marcus could not sleep. He kept thinking about Bobby's situation and how it would affect Emma. Emma had been doing so well. She was making friends, she was confident, she was happy. Bobby had given her something that Marcus, with all his money and power, could not give her, the belief that she was valuable just as she was. If Bobby left, Marcus was afraid Emma would go back to being sad and lonely. She might think that people she cared about always left her, first her mother and now Bobby. Marcus also thought about Bobby himself. Here was a good man who worked 3 jobs to take care of his sick mother and help his sister go to college. Bobby never complained or asked for help. He just quietly did what needed to be done. But sometimes being good and working hard was not enough. Sometimes people needed help even if they were too proud to ask for it. The next morning, Emma came downstairs looking worried. "Daddy, something is wrong with Mr. Bobby," she said. "Yesterday he looked like he wanted to cry, and when Brandon asked him about the baseball game, Mr. Bobby didn't even know what Brandon was talking about." Marcus sat down next to Emma. "Sweetheart, sometimes adults have problems that make them sad, just like kids do. Is Mr. Bobby going to be okay?" Marcus did not know how to answer that question. "I hope so, Emma. Can we help him? Like he helped me?" Marcus looked at his daughter's concerned face. Emma, who had been bullied and lonely, was now worried about helping someone else. Bobby had taught her to care about other people even when she was having her own problems. "I don't know how to help him," Marcus said honestly. "But you're smart, Daddy, and you have lots of money. There has to be something we can do." Emma was right. Marcus did have money and he was smart about business. But this was not a business problem. This was about a proud man who would not accept charity, even if it meant losing everything he cared about. That day at work, Marcus could not concentrate on anything. During meetings, he thought about Bobby. While reading reports, he thought about Emma. During phone calls, he thought about the problem. By the end of the day, Marcus had made a decision. He was going to find a way to help Bobby Martinez. Not because Bobby asked for help, but because Bobby deserved help, and because Emma needed Bobby to stay in her life. Marcus did not know exactly how he was going to do it yet. But he knew that Bobby had given Emma something precious: hope and confidence in the knowledge that there were still good people in the world. Now it was Marcus's turn to give something back. Not just money, but a chance for Bobby to keep doing what he did best, taking care of children who needed someone to believe in them. Marcus started making phone calls. He had an idea, but it was going to take careful planning. Bobby could not know that Marcus was helping, at least not at first. It had to seem like a real opportunity, not charity, because the most important thing was not just solving Bobby's money problems. The most important thing was making sure Bobby could keep being the person he was, a man who put children first and made them feel safe and valued. Emma needed Bobby to stay, and Marcus was going to make sure that happened. Marcus spent 3 days making phone calls and setting up meetings. He had an idea, but it needed to be perfect. Bobby was too proud to accept charity, so Marcus had to make this look like a real business opportunity. On Thursday morning, Marcus called Bobby and asked to meet him at the coffee shop again. "Is everything okay with Emma?" Bobby asked, sounding worried. "Emma is fine. Actually, I wanted to talk to you about something else. A business opportunity." Bobby looked confused when he arrived at the coffee shop. "A business opportunity? Mr. Wellington, I'm not sure what you mean." Marcus had practiced this conversation in his mind many times. He needed to be careful with every word. "Bobby, my company has been thinking about starting a new program. We want to create a community outreach initiative that focuses on helping children and families." Bobby listened carefully. "We need someone to run this program," Marcus continued. "Someone who understands children, who knows how to connect with families from different backgrounds, and who has experience working with kids who face challenges." "That sounds like a good program," Bobby said, "but I'm not sure why you're telling me about it." Marcus leaned forward. "Because I want to offer you the job." Bobby's eyes got wide. "Me? Mr. Wellington, I drive a school bus. I stock shelves at a grocery store. I'm not qualified for something like that." "Bobby, you're the most qualified person I know," Marcus said. "Do you know what I've seen you do in the past month?" Marcus told Bobby about all the things he had witnessed. How Bobby handled the bullying situation with Emma. How he helped Sophie when her parents got divorced. How he made peace between Michael and Tony when they were fighting. How he helped Carlos stay warm on the rainy day. You have a gift, Bobby. You know how to help children feel safe and valued. That's not something you can learn in school. That's something you either have or you don't. And you have it. Bobby was quiet for a long time. What would this job involve? Marcus had prepared for this question. You would work with schools, community centers, and families to create programs that help children succeed. Anti-bullying programs, reading clubs, mentorship opportunities, support for families in crisis. It sounds amazing, Bobby said. But Mr. Wellington, I can't afford to take risks right now. My mother needs medical treatment, my sister needs college money, and we have to move at the end of the month. The salary would be $75,000 a year, Marcus said. Bobby nearly choked on his coffee. $75,000? Are you serious? plus health insurance for your whole family, plus a signing bonus of $25,000 to help you get started. Bobby stared at Marcus. That's more money than I've ever dreamed of making. You would also get a company car and money for any education or training you want to pursue. Bobby was quiet for several minutes. Marcus could see him thinking hard. Mr. Wellington, this is incredibly generous, but I have to ask, why me? You could hire someone with a college degree, someone with experience in this kind of work. Marcus had prepared for this question too, and he decided to tell Bobby the truth. Because you saved my daughter. Bobby looked confused. I just did what any decent person would do. No, Bobby, you did much more than that. When I first saw Emma being bullied, I wanted to march into that school and use my money and power to fix everything. But that wouldn't have really helped Emma. Marcus thought about Emma before Bobby came into her life. Emma was lost, Bobby. She was sad and lonely and starting to believe that something was wrong with her. I couldn't help her because I didn't know how. But you helped her in ways that money never could. You showed her that being different is okay. You taught her how to stand up for herself. You helped her make friends. Most importantly, you helped her believe in herself again. Bobby was listening carefully. My company makes a lot of money. Bobby. But what's the point of all that money if we can't use it to help people like you continue doing the amazing work you're already doing? Marcus reached into his briefcase and pulled out a folder. This is a real job offer, Bobby. We've already started setting up the program. We have partnerships with schools, funding secured, and a plan for the first year. Bobby opened the folder and looked at the official job offer. His hands were shaking slightly. You would report directly to me, Marcus said. You would have complete freedom to design programs based on what you think children and families need most. I don't understand, Bobby said. This seems too good to be true. Why would you do this for someone you barely know? Marcus looked Bobby in the eyes. Because in 1 month you did more to help my daughter than I had been able to do in 2 years. Because you work 3 jobs to take care of your family and never complain. Because you volunteer to help other children in your free time. Because you treat every child with dignity and respect whether they're rich or poor. Marcus paused. And because Emma told me yesterday that she's scared you're going to leave and she'll never see you again. Bobby put his head in his hands. I told myself I wasn't going to tell the children until my last day driving the bus. I didn't want them to be sad. You don't have to leave, Bobby. You can take this job, stay here, get your mother the medical treatment she needs, and help your sister go to college. And I could keep helping children? Even more than you do now. You could help hundreds of children instead of just the ones on your bus. Bobby was quiet for a long time, reading through the job offer carefully. Mr. Wellington, I need to ask you something honestly. Is this real or is this charity? Because if this is just you feeling sorry for me, Bobby, let me ask you something. Do you think I would put my company's reputation at risk by hiring someone I didn't believe in? Do you think I would create a fake program just to help one person? Marcus pulled out his phone and showed Bobby articles about similar programs at other companies. This is a real trend in business. Companies are realizing that community investment is good for everyone. The job offer is real because you're the right person for it. The timing is fortunate for both of us, but this opportunity exists because you have skills and qualities that my company needs. Bobby read through the papers again. What about the children on my bus? They're counting on me. The school district will find another driver. But Bobby, think about it this way. Instead of helping 30 children on a bus, you could help thousands of children through this program. Bobby looked out the window. Marcus could see him thinking about his mother, his sister, and all the children he cared about. There's one condition, Bobby said finally. What's that? Emma gets to be involved in the program. She has good ideas about what kids need and she understands what it's like to feel different. Marcus smiled. I think that's an excellent condition. Bobby took a deep breath. Mr. Wellington, I accept your offer. The 2 men shook hands. Marcus felt relief wash over him. Emma would not lose the person who had helped her so much. Bobby would be able to take care of his family and keep helping children. And Marcus would have the chance to work with someone who truly understood what was important in life. There's just one thing, Marcus said. Emma doesn't know about this yet. I want it to be a surprise. How do you want to tell her? Marcus had already thought about this. Tomorrow is Friday, your last day driving the bus. I'll pick Emma up from school and bring her to your house. We can tell her and your family together. My mother and sister are going to be so shocked, Bobby said, smiling for the first time in weeks. Good shocked or bad shocked? The best shocked of their lives. As Marcus drove home, he felt happier than he had in years. He was using his wealth and power to help someone who deserved it. He was keeping Emma's mentor in her life, and he was going to have the chance to work with Bobby Martinez, a man who had taught Marcus what it really meant to care about other people. Marcus realized that Bobby had not just saved Emma. Bobby had saved Marcus too, by showing him that there were still good people in the world who put others before themselves. Tomorrow, Marcus would tell Emma that her friend Bobby was staying, and then the real work would begin, creating programs that would help children all over the city feel as safe and valued as Bobby had made Emma feel. It was going to be the start of something wonderful. 6 months later, Marcus stood in the auditorium of Emma's school, watching his daughter speak to 200 children, parents, and teachers. He could hardly believe this was the same quiet, scared little girl who used to hide behind him just a year ago. "Reading is not weird or boring," Emma said into the microphone, her voice clear and confident. "Reading is like having superpowers. When you read, you can go anywhere, be anyone, and learn anything." The children in the audience were listening carefully. Emma had started a reading club at her school that now had 50 members. But that was just one of many things that had changed. After Bobby accepted the job offer, everything in their lives had transformed in ways Marcus never expected. First, there was Emma herself. Working with Bobby on the community program had given her a sense of purpose. She helped Bobby design anti-bullying workshops and reading programs for younger children. Emma discovered that she was good at understanding what other kids needed, and at explaining things in ways they could understand. Emma still loved books and quiet time, but now she also loved sharing her ideas and helping other children. She had found her voice and was not afraid to use it. "If someone makes fun of you for reading," Emma continued her speech, "remember that they're probably just jealous because you're learning things they don't know." In the audience, Marcus saw Brandon, the boy who used to bully Emma. Now Brandon was one of Emma's best friends and a member of her reading club. It turned out that Brandon was actually very smart, but he had been acting mean because he was struggling in school and felt stupid. Emma had helped Bobby create a tutoring program, and now Brandon was one of their best students. Emma finished her speech and walked back to her seat next to Marcus. "How did I do, Daddy?" "You were perfect, sweetheart. I'm so proud of you." After the assembly, Marcus and Emma drove to the community center where Bobby worked. The Wellington Foundation Community Program now operated in 15 schools and 3 community centers around the city. Bobby's office was in a bright, cheerful building that used to be empty and run down. Marcus had bought the building and renovated it into a place where children and families could come for help, tutoring, activities, and support. "Mr. Marcus." "Emma?" called a voice as they walked in. It was Carlos, the little boy who used to get soaked waiting for Bobby's bus in the rain. Carlos was now 8 years old and one of the program's success stories. His grades had improved dramatically and he was teaching younger children how to read. "Hi, Carlos," Emma said, giving him a hug. "Are you ready for your reading group today?" "Yes. I'm going to read the story about the dragon to the kindergarten kids." Marcus watched Carlos run off to his activity. 6 months ago, Carlos could barely read simple words. Now he was confident enough to read to other children. They found Bobby in the main activity room, helping a group of teenagers with their homework. Bobby looked different now, too. He was wearing nice clothes instead of his bus driver uniform, but more importantly, he looked relaxed and happy. Bobby's mother had gotten the medical treatment she needed and was feeling much better. His sister Maria was thriving in college and planned to become a teacher, so she could help children like Bobby did. "How was the presentation at the school?" Bobby asked Emma. "It was great. 23 new kids signed up for reading club. That's wonderful. And how did the anti-bullying workshop go this morning?" Marcus listened to Emma and Bobby talk about their work. Emma had become Bobby's unofficial assistant, helping him plan programs and activities. She had a natural talent for understanding what children needed and for coming up with creative solutions to problems. But the changes were not just in Emma and Bobby. Marcus had changed too, before Bobby came into their lives. Marcus had worked 12 hours a day and traveled constantly for business. He had thought that making more money was the most important thing he could do for Emma. Now, Marcus worked reasonable hours and spent his evenings and weekends with Emma. He had learned that being present was more valuable than being wealthy. He still ran his company, But he had found balance between work and family. Marcus had also discovered something he never expected. He loved working on the community program. Using his business skills to help children and families gave him more satisfaction than any deal he had ever made. "Mr. Wellington," said a voice behind him. Marcus turned to see Mrs. Rodriguez, Diego's mother. Diego was the little boy Bobby used to pick up in the poor neighborhood. "Mrs. Rodriguez, how are you?" "I'm wonderful, thanks to you and Mr. Bobby. Diego is doing so well in school now. And the family support program helped me find a better job." The family support program was Bobby's idea. He had noticed that many children struggled in school because their families were dealing with problems like unemployment, housing issues, or medical bills. So Bobby created a program that helped families solve these problems while also supporting their children's education. "Diego is actually helping other children now," Mrs. Rodriguez continued. "He tutors kids who are learning English since he speaks both Spanish and English." This was what Marcus loved most about the program. It was not just about helping children receive support. It was about helping children become leaders who helped other children. Later that evening, Marcus, Emma, and Bobby had dinner together at Marcus's house. This had become their weekly tradition. Bobby would come over every Friday night and they would cook together, eat together, and plan activities for the following week. "I have some good news," Bobby said during dinner. "The mayor wants to expand our program to every school in the city." "Really?" Emma asked excitedly. "Yes. She was so impressed with what we've accomplished in 6 months that she wants to make it a citywide initiative." Marcus felt proud. Their small program had grown into something that could help thousands more children. "There's more," Bobby said, smiling at Marcus. 3 other cities have contacted us. They want to start similar programs in their communities." Marcus and Emma looked at each other with excitement. "Does that mean we get to travel and help kids in other places?" Emma asked. "If you want to," Bobby said. "We could visit other cities during school breaks and help them set up their own programs." Marcus thought about how much his life had changed. A year ago, he would have been focused on expanding his business to other cities to make more profit. Now he was excited about expanding their program to other cities to help more children. "I think that's a wonderful idea," Marcus said. After dinner, Emma went to her room to do homework. Marcus and Bobby sat in the living room talking about their plans for the program. "Marcus, I want to thank you again," Bobby said. "For what?" "For giving me this opportunity. For believing in me when I didn't even believe in myself." Marcus shook his head. "Bobby, you don't need to thank me. You've given me and Emma more than I ever gave you." "What do you mean?" Marcus looked toward Emma's room where he could hear her talking on the phone with one of her friends about a book they were reading together. A year ago, Emma was sad and lonely and scared. She thought something was wrong with her because she was different from other kids. Now she's confident and happy and helping other children feel good about themselves. Marcus turned back to Bobby. "You taught her that being different is not something to be ashamed of. You showed her how to use her differences to help other people. And you taught me something too," Marcus continued. "You showed me that success is not about how much money you make or how powerful you become. Success is about how many people you help and how much good you do in the world." Bobby smiled. "You know, when I was driving that school bus, I thought my job was just to get kids safely from home to school. I never imagined I could do something like this." "But you were already doing something like this," Marcus said. "You were helping children feel safe and valued every single day. Now you're just doing it on a bigger scale." They sat quietly for a moment, both thinking about how much their lives had changed. "Marcus, can I ask you something?" "Of course. Do you ever regret it? Spending so much money and time on the program instead of focusing on your business?" Marcus thought about the question. His company was still very successful, but he had turned down some opportunities to focus on the community program. Some business partners thought he was wasting his time and money. "Bobby, I've made more money in my lifetime than I could ever spend. But until this year, I never felt like I was making a real difference in the world." Marcus looked around his big, expensive house. All of this used to feel empty after Sarah died. "Emma and I were lost and sad, even though we had everything money could buy. Now this house feels like a home again. Emma is happy. I'm happy. And we're part of something that matters. How could I regret that?" As Bobby was getting ready to leave, Emma came downstairs to say goodnight. "Mr. Bobby, thank you for dinner. And thank you for helping me with my presentation today. You did all the hard work, Emma. I just listened." Emma hugged Bobby and then turned to Marcus. Daddy, I'm really glad Mr. Bobby is our friend. Me too, sweetheart. After Emma went to bed and Bobby went home, Marcus sat in his living room thinking about the past year. He thought about the scared little girl who used to hide from other children, and how she had become a confident young leader. 1 year later, Marcus stood on a small stage in the same community center where their program had begun. Today was Emma's 9th birthday, but this was not a typical birthday party. Emma had asked for something special for her birthday. Instead of expensive gifts or a fancy party, she wanted to celebrate the first anniversary of the Wellington Foundation community program with all the children and families they had helped. The community center was decorated with colorful drawings made by children in the program. Balloons and banners hung from the ceiling, and tables were filled with food that families from the program had brought to share. But the most beautiful decorations were the smiles on everyone's faces. Marcus looked out at the crowd of over 300 people. A year ago, many of these children had been struggling in school, getting bullied or feeling like they did not matter. Many of the parents had been worried about their families and not sure where to turn for help. Now they were all here together, celebrating how much their lives had changed. Ladies and gentlemen, Marcus said into the microphone, 1 year ago my daughter Emma was a scared little girl who thought she was weird because she loved to read books. Today Emma runs reading programs in 5 schools and has helped over 200 children discover that reading is fun. The crowd clapped and cheered. Emma, sitting in the front row next to Bobby, smiled and waved. 1 year ago, Bobby Martinez was working 3 jobs just to pay for his mother's medical bills and his sister's college tuition. Today, Bobby runs programs in 25 schools and 3 community centers. His work has helped over 1,500 children and their families. The crowd gave Bobby a standing ovation. Bobby stood up and waved, but Marcus could see that he was getting emotional. But the most important thing we learned this year, Marcus continued, is that when good people help each other, amazing things happen. Marcus told the crowd about some of their success stories. Carlos, who had gone from barely reading to teaching younger children. Brandon, who had gone from bullying other kids to helping them solve problems. Sophie, whose parents had divorced, but who was now helping other children deal with family problems. These children learned something very important, Marcus said. They learned that their problems and challenges could become their strengths. They learned that helping other people made them feel good about themselves. In the crowd, Marcus could see Maria, Bobby's sister, who was home from college for the celebration. She was studying to become a teacher and planned to work for their program after graduation. He could see Bobby's mother, Mrs. Martinez, who was healthy and happy now that she had received proper medical treatment. He could see Mrs. Rodriguez and Diego, Carlos and his family, Sophie and her mother, Brandon and his parents, and dozens of other families whose lives had been touched by the program. Today is Emma's birthday, Marcus said, but she asked for her gifts to be donations to help even more children. Because Emma has learned that the best gift you can give yourself is the opportunity to help someone else. Emma stood up and walked to the microphone. She was no longer the shy, scared little girl who used to hide behind Marcus. She was confident and articulate, with a strong voice and clear ideas about what she wanted to say. A year ago, I was lonely and sad, Emma said. I thought there was something wrong with me because I was different from other kids. The crowd listened quietly. Then Mr. Bobby showed me that being different was not bad. He showed me that I could use my differences to help other people. And my daddy showed me that when you have been given a lot, you should use what you have to help others. Emma looked at Bobby and Marcus. But the most important thing I learned is that everyone needs someone who believes in them. Mr. Bobby believed in me when I didn't believe in myself. Now I try to believe in other kids the same way. Emma turned back to the crowd. So today on my birthday I want to make a promise. I promise to keep helping other children for as long as I can. Because every child deserves to know that they matter and that they can do great things. The crowd erupted in applause. Marcus felt tears in his eyes as he watched his daughter, who had become a leader and an inspiration to others. After Emma's speech, Bobby took the microphone. When I first met Marcus and Emma, Bobby said, I thought I was just doing my job as a bus driver. I saw a child who needed help and I helped her. I never imagined it would change all of our lives. Bobby looked at Marcus. Marcus, you gave me an opportunity that changed everything for my family. But you also gave me something else. You showed me that my work with children was valuable and important. Bobby turned to Emma. Emma, you taught me that children are not just people who need help. Children are people who can change the world if someone gives them a chance. Bobby looked out at the crowd. This program works because everyone contributes something. Parents volunteer their time. Children help other children. Community leaders support our work. Business people provide resources. But most importantly, Bobby continued, this program works because we all believe in the same thing, that every child deserves love, respect, and the chance to succeed. After the speeches, the party continued with games, food, and activities. Marcus walked around the room, talking to families and watching children play together. He saw Emma teaching a group of younger children how to play a reading game she had invented. He saw Brandon helping Carlos with a puzzle. He saw Sophie reading a story to a little girl whose parents were getting divorced. Marcus realized that what they had created was more than just a program. They had created a community. These children and families had become connected to each other in ways that would last for years to come. Later in the evening, as the party was winding down, Marcus found himself standing outside the community center with Bobby. They were watching through the windows as children and parents cleaned up together, still talking and laughing. Can you believe how much has changed in just 1 year? Bobby asked. Marcus shook his head. If someone had told me a year ago that I would be running community programs instead of focusing only on business deals, I would have thought they were crazy. And if someone had told me I would go from driving a school bus to running programs in 25 schools, I would have laughed, Bobby said. They stood quietly for a moment, both thinking about the journey that had brought them here. Bobby, can I tell you something? Marcus said. Of course. For 2 years after Sarah died, I felt lost. I had all this money and power, but I couldn't figure out how to help my own daughter. I was failing as a father and I didn't know what to do. Marcus looked through the window at Emma, who was helping a little boy find his jacket. Watching you with Emma that first day on the bus, I realized that I had been trying to solve Emma's problems with money instead of understanding what she really needed. What did she really need? Bobby asked. She needed to know that she was valuable just as she was. She needed to learn how to be strong and kind. She needed to see that there were still good people in the world who cared about others. Marcus turned to Bobby. You gave her all of those things, but you also gave me something I didn't expect. What's that? You gave me a new purpose. Before this program, I made money for the sake of making money. Now I use my resources to make a real difference in people's lives. That feels better than any business success I ever had. Bobby smiled. You know what's funny? I used to think that rich people didn't care about regular people like me. I thought they lived in a different world and didn't understand what life was like for working families. What changed your mind? You did. You could have just paid someone to fix Emma's bullying problem and never thought about it again. But instead, you took the time to understand what was really happening. You cared enough to get involved personally. Bobby looked back through the window at the party. And you didn't just help Emma. You created something that helps hundreds of families. You used your wealth to lift other people up instead of just making yourself richer. As they talked, Emma came outside to find them. Daddy, Mr. Bobby. Everyone wants to take a group picture before they leave. Inside, Bobby organized everyone for the photo. Marcus stood in the back with the parents while Emma stood in front with the children. As they posed for the picture, Marcus thought about how this scene would have been impossible a year ago. Emma had been too scared to be around other children. Bobby had been working 3 jobs and worried about losing his home. Marcus had been focused only on business and missing what was really important in his life. Now they were all part of something bigger than themselves. After the party ended and everyone had gone home, Marcus, Emma, and Bobby sat in Bobby's office, surrounded by thank you cards and drawings from children in the program. This has been the best birthday ever, Emma said. Better than any expensive present or fancy party. Why? Marcus asked, though he thought he knew the answer. Because I got to celebrate with all my friends and I got to see how happy everyone is. When you help other people feel good, you feel good too. Bobby smiled. Emma, you understand something that many adults never learn. What's that? True happiness comes from making other people happy. Money and toys and fancy things can be nice, but they don't make you feel good inside the way helping others does.